Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So in today's video, we're going to be covering 5 different changes which happen to be bipartisan, which if these changes are implemented, would allow for Congress to improve these Social Security payments and increase them by $200 every single month. And this would impact almost every American, including those who are not receiving Social Security and also those who are receiving Social Security at this point in time. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you would like to receive a few free stocks, in a pinned comment below as well as in the description box, I will be leaving a few different links where you can receive just that. Okay, so we're going to start out this video by looking at the first poll that we're going to be covering in today's video. And that's the fact that voters, yes, overwhelmingly support the continuation of Social Security within the next 10 years and even beyond that. So that is an especially good sign. So if we can look at this poll, out of all likely voters, 90% of voters support Social Security to continue existing 10 years from now. Among those are 92% of Democrats, 91% of Republicans, and 88% of third parties. And that's especially great news that all Americans, including Republicans and Democrats, want to see the program continue, because unfortunately we've seen recent data come out showing that unfortunately, if nothing is done to save the program, the trust fund is going to be going insolvent by 2032 or 2033. And what we mean by insolvency is they'll no longer be able to pay out full benefits. So instead of receiving your full benefit, whatever you would normally be receiving, unfortunately, you would actually be receiving an automatic benefit cut of anywhere between 20 to 25%. So let's say theoretically, for example, if you're supposed to receive a $1,000 benefit after the cost of living adjustment or whatever takes place in 2032 or 2033, once they cut 20 to 25% out of your check because the trust fund is insolvent, instead of receiving the full $1,000, you'd only be receiving $750 to $800, depending how large of a cut that needs to be made. So the very fact that both Republicans and Democrats support the future of Social Security benefits, the fact that they want this program to be saved, means that they're more than likely going to get something done in DC, hopefully sooner than later. So, of course, they do need to make a lot of changes, and there are 5 different changes that are supported by both sides of the aisle, at least as far as voters go, and we're going to prove that by looking at some different polling. So the first change that Americans support is paying more into Social Security. So right now, as far as workers go, out of each paycheck, you have different things taken out. You have like your state income taxes. If you had to pay state income taxes, you had to pay federal income taxes, and then you had to pay something called a payroll tax. So out of your payroll tax, you have a Social Security tax that goes into the trust fund, and then you also have some money taken out that goes to Medicare as well. So out of each paycheck, you'll have 6.2% taken out, which goes to the Social Security Trust Fund. Then your employer will also be paying in 6.2%. So in total, that would be 12.4%. Well, voters are saying, hey, if we have to save Social Security and we have to pay more in, I'm completely fine with that. So they might end up raising this amount from 6.2 up to 7%, and then your employer would also match the other 7%. So it would be 14% that each employee and employer would be paying in, increase from 12.4%. So we can see here the polling up here that a bipartisan majority of voters would rather pay more into Social Security than have its benefits reduced. This is thanks to Data for Progress. And we can see that out of all likely voters, 76% support this. Democrats are at 83% and Republicans at 72%. So a pretty high majority of people support paying more into the program out of each and every paycheck. Now, the second change that they might implement that also happens to be bipartisan is to impose payroll taxes on Americans earning more than $250,000 per year. So once again, we're talking payroll taxes. This is the amount of each paycheck where you have some money going to Social Security and some money also going to Medicare. Now, there is a cap on the amount that you have to pay into Social Security. And this year in 2023, that cap happens to be $160,200. So if you earn $160,200 per year, beyond that amount, you don't pay anything more in. So someone earning, let's say, $160,200 is going to be paying the exact same amount into the trust fund as someone who earns, let's say, like $10 billion. The person who earns $10 billion doesn't pay any more into the trust fund after they eclipse that $160,200 mark. So a lot of lawmakers and people are saying, why do they have to stop paying at that amount? Why don't we start imposing that payroll tax after $250,000 as well? That way we could have more money going into the trust fund. And we can see the polling up on the screen there, that of all likely voters, they strongly support by 40% and somewhat support by 33% imposing a payroll tax on Americans earning more than $250,000 per year. Out of Democrats, 56% strongly support it, 27% of Republicans strongly support it, and 33% of Republicans somewhat supporting it. So it's mostly Democrats supporting this provision, but as we can see, also we have a good amount of Republican voters. So this is very much bipartisan as well. Now, the third change that's also bipartisan that they could use to, say the Social Security program and also raise benefits by, let's say, $200 per month is to, yes, increase benefits by $200 per month or $2,400 per year. So once again, we can see another poll up on the screen here that voters strongly support the Social Security Expansion Act. And this is the way the question was worded. So they say that some members of Congress are proposing the Social Security Expansion Act. This bill would extend the solvency of Social Security for 75 years, meaning the program would have enough funds to fully pay out benefits through 2097. The bill would also increase benefits for all recipients by $2,400 per year. This would be paid for by increasing taxes on wealthy Americans. Do you support or oppose the Social Security Expansion Act? And out of all likely voters, 47% strongly support it and 31% somewhat support it. We have 62% of Democrats strongly supporting the bill, 23% of Democrats somewhat supporting it, and then out of Republicans, we have 72% of Republicans either strongly supporting the bill or somewhat supporting the bill. So obviously this has a lot of bipartisan support. I mean, who wouldn't want to see an increase in their Social Security payments by $200 per month? So once again, we have another bipartisan provision there among at least the voters on both sides of the aisle. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the fourth change that also happens to be bipartisan. This would be reducing benefits for higher earners. So, right now in 2023, we have the max check right around $4,500 for those who are receiving the max benefit and retiring at the full retirement age. If you wait until the age of 70, you're going to be receiving even more. But a lot of Americans are saying that Social Security is just a safety net, and someone who already has, millions of dollars in the bank, millions of dollars in savings or their retirement funds, someone who is earning a lot of money probably does not need to receive the max Social Security benefit. Let's talk about someone very wealthy like maybe Warren Buffett. Does Warren Buffett really need to be receiving another $4,500 per month in his Social Security check? I'm not even sure if he's filed for Social Security or if he's even receiving it. He surely doesn't need it. So a lot of Americans are saying maybe we can reduce this amount and make it so, people who are receiving the least amount of money in their check actually receive more money. And that's something that both sides of the aisle also support as well. As you can see up on the screen, more than 80% of Americans, Republicans at 78% and Democrats at 86% are in favor of reducing the Social Security benefits paid to individuals with income in the top 20%. That change would eliminate 11% of the budgetary shortfall. Now, the fifth change that we may actually see happen this year, believe it or not, because it is in a bill and it has almost 300 co-sponsors in the House. This bill would surely pass if they ever voted on it. Last year, they also had a lot of support on it as well, but unfortunately it was held up ever being voted on for whatever reason, even though they had a lot of co-sponsors, both from Democrats and Republicans. This is something extremely rare for a bill to have this much support on both sides of the aisle and for them to never even vote on it for whatever reason. And this would be to eliminate the windfall elimination provision as well as the government pension offset. Now they say that it actually, out of everyone who receives Social Security benefits and also receives a pension, the benefits from Social Security are actually reduced as far as the WEP goes by 2 million Americans, and the GPO impacts 800,000 retirees. So again, this bill is currently in Congress, introduced in both the House and the Senate. It was last year as well, but for whatever reason, they never voted on it. This has a lot of support among, Democrats and Republicans, both voters and our politicians in Washington, D.C. as well. So if they ever voted on it, it would definitely pass. It just comes down to whenever this bill is going to be put on the floor. Why they're holding it up, I have no clue. Now, the downside to passing this and eliminating the WEP and GPO is, of course, we would be paying out more benefits. And right now, the trust fund is going insolvent. So if we're going to be paying out even more money from the trust fund to Americans, even though that would be a great thing for them, receiving more money, helping their retirement, helping their way of living, especially with inflation going up so high. Well, in that case, the trust fund would also be depleted even faster. So right now we're talking like 2032 or 2033 where the trust fund is going to be going insolvent. But if we end up eliminating both these provisions, that could be sped up to, in fact, let's say like 2030. So 2030, of course, is just 7 years from now. And that would make it so lawmakers would have to act even sooner, which really, in all reality, probably wouldn't be a bad thing, because we can see, over the last few months with the debt ceiling and things like that, lawmakers, tend to just kick the can down the road. So maybe we need an even earlier deadline than 2032 to force them to act. But definitely leave your thoughts in comments below. What do you think about all these changes? Which of these changes is your favorite change? Which change do you believe they need to definitely make to Social Security to make it a better program? Let me know what your thoughts and comments are below. But that's all the news that we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. And I will see you in the next video.